Hey, this is Franz from Livlos, and you are listening to the Dan Chan Show.
I am joined by one of Denmark's brightest metal acts, Livlos. Now, obviously, guys, you have this little line in the O. Does that mean it's pronounced anything different?
Yeah, it's like Livlos. It's like an Ö, a Danish Ö.
Ö. That's an unusual Ö. But it sounds like posh. It's like an English posh word. Ö. So it's Livlos. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay,
that's pretty close, man.
Let's go. Okay, so Livlos, you're ready to hit the world with your brand new album, The Crescent King, this week. And to discuss all that and more, I'm joined by, just introduce yourselves. This is vocalist Niklas and guitarist Franz. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good evening. We're good.
Yeah, whereabouts are you in? You're in Aarhus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you live near each other?
Well, somewhat. We're like 30 minutes from each other, I guess.
Just enough distance, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to get in with the band name. Where's the band name come from? Because I think I read it somewhere. Livlos. What does it mean?
It basically just means lifeless in Danish.
Lifeless. That's right.
Yeah.
I did read that somewhere. Who came up with that?
Well, our drummer Thomas. And it's not a more interesting story than we had just we'd been going back and forth with like names. We had like a Facebook thread of like 240 suggestions.
Right.
And we were just tired. And he just wrote us after a rehearsal. He just wrote us, "Hey guys, what about Livlos? It means death. We're death metal. What do you think?" And then we said like, well, let's just give it a go. We're too exhausted to think of any other names, and then it just stuck, and it just got better and better, and more meaning came to it, and so on. So it
works.
Yeah,
it works a treat. It works a treat.
It works
Absolutely. So let's get into it. I want to discuss the new tracks that you've released for your new album, which is out this week. How have they been released so far? I think you've released. Is it 3 tracks you've released so far? Or is it 4?
Actually 4, but we're officially we have 3 singles from the 3 singles, but we released the 4th one, the first one you would say, a year ago, because we were playing our biggest show to date, and we wanted to at least play 2 tracks from the new album. And we knew that there was going to be a lot of time before the album was going to be released. So if you're going to play 2 brand new tracks for like that big of a show, you need to have at least one of them be released. To release that like a week before.
Nice.
And then we had like Endless Majesty from the album. We played that as well.
So Niklas, were those tracks pre-recorded? Is the album that old now, or did you record those 2 tracks first and get them out for this gig?
We had actually. I think it was like 2, maybe 3 weeks before I finished writing the lyrics for Endless Majesty.
Right.
So it was only The Crescent King, which was released last year, the title track. I recorded that and maybe 2 other songs before that. So, but I finished recording the vocals like late summer last year.
Right. For the whole album.
The production went into early fall maybe.
Right. So the album is.
So when it releases, it's going to be about a year old for us.
How does that feel? I mean, I've released albums previously in previous bands. And I know what it's like when you do actually get to release day. The album is so old for the band. How are you handling that?
Well, it's definitely a challenge because you just want to, once you finish writing songs, you just want to go out and show it to people.
Of course,
either through the actual recording of the album or at live shows. But you have to keep it to yourself until the time's right.
So how do you keep
it a challenge?
How do you keep the album fresh for yourselves? Do you go through a period of not listening to it and keeping it away so you can reapproach it with fresh ears?
Well, it's a funny thing, though. Sorry.
Go on, Franz.
No, it's a funny thing because we are different like that in the band. Like Kenneth and Thomas, maybe even, and maybe also Niklas. Well, I've listened to it a lot when we're recording and when we've gotten the final masters. And then Benjamin and myself, we've ever since we had the first master, I've been listening to that album at least once every other week.
Right.
Sometimes like every week.
Yeah.
Just because it's just like, is this still good though? Is it still that everything from that doubt until, yeah, it's fucking awesome, man. And just I want to send it to all my friends, and I do that, and I get excited again. So that feeling that gets like renewed, like times 100 almost, as soon as you release it into the world. And you know, sometimes the postpartum syndrome is very real.
Yeah.
When you kept it for that long.
So with the album being that old for you guys, not for us, but for you guys, how much new music do you have now ready to go? Because you don't stop writing in that period, do you? You must have a bank of music ready to go for the next one.
Well, we've never really written, like, we're not one of those bands who write like 30 songs and then pick out the 9 or 10 bests. We figure out pretty early on if this song that we're working on is it going to be on the album. No, it just doesn't feel like. Scratch that and then move along.
Yeah.
But you know, ever since we've had this album recorded and we couldn't touch it anymore, yeah, there's been a lot of writing for like a fourth album even.
Yeah.
It's we just got to keep rolling, because now we're finally in a place where we can just like, yeah, go forward.
I get it. So Niklas, this is your third album. How do you feel you're evolving per albums, or evolving at all? How is it going forward?
Yeah, it's actually only my second album. I joined after the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bit of history there. We'll get into the history. I'd like to know more about that very shortly.
Yeah. So I think I've evolved a good deal from the last album to this one. In regards to when we made the last album, I was still pretty new in the band, and I think I wanted to prove myself, you know, by just putting as much vocal in each song as possible.
Yeah.
And what I figured out is those songs are not as fun to perform.
Right.
Because I have to sing all the time. Of course there's breaks, but it's very minimal. And when I listen to the old album, I also feel like it's too much, like you need to break some breaks from the vocals where the music can breathe on its own.
Yeah.
And I think that has improved a lot on this album. And then I just also took what I think worked with my vocals from the last album and improved that. And, you know, kind of made it more focused on what I think worked best, instead of just trying a lot of different things.
Sure. What about you, Franz? How do you feel? Obviously, you being on all three, how has it evolved for you?
Well, I guess we've just kept practicing and improving. We're kind of like a band that started out with just like no plan. Just like, hey, do you want to play metal? I want to play metal. What about you? Yeah, let's just try this then.
Yeah.
Didn't really talk about genres or anything. So, like, long story short, it's just been, you know, okay, so now we're in a position all of a sudden where people actually want to listen to us. I guess we gotta step it up a notch, and you know, actually think about stuff now and really structure. We did that for all the albums, obviously, but we've learned a lot along the way, and we learned that what songs need and what they don't need, and how much effort you gotta put into actually being in the studio. That was like a lesson from album 1 to album 2, and from the last album to this one, I guess it's like our ears have evolved too. I guess like we know what we want to do in the studio, and we know that we can trust Jacob in the studio, and just have it like being a totally relaxed environment where we have all the space in the world to just really dig into, you know, the product, or getting the best result possible, instead of worrying about what's it going to sound like, what does Jacob feel, is he feeling like what doesn't work. Nothing like that. We're just like one unit working towards a common goal, and that's been really freeing this time around.
Cool. So Niklas, do you focus on the lyrics? Are you the lyric writer right now?
Yeah.
So what are the themes that you write about? What comes out of you?
Well, I think the themes of our band has been pretty, not the same, but it's been pretty focused on a few overall themes throughout the band's history, even before I joined.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about humanity and existentialism and life versus death and so on.
Okay.
And I saw that from the first album, and I wanted to take it, see how far you could take it in different ways. Like the last album was more personal, still some non-personal themes on that album, but this album is purely fiction, where we wanted to do this grand, epic concept album with a chronological told story throughout. And yeah, I came up with Franz came up with the idea that it should be a space odyssey. And then I took it from there, and I had this title in my mind, The Crescent King. So my idea actually just evolved from Franz's space odyssey idea and this title. And then I just took it from there with inspiration from a lot of different things.
Awesome.
And it became this cool mix of medieval fantasy and sci-fi.
Cool. Awesome. Can't wait to hear it in its entirety. Now, Franz, with guitars, are riffs literally going through your head all day, or do you ever switch your guitar head off, or is it constant? Do you wake up in the middle of the night humming into your phone when you get a riff idea, or driving down the road, or how is it?
Oh, you know the phone thing, like straight into memos on your iPhone, and just like bap, 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 bap.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I do all the time. But I'm not out all the time. It comes like in like periods of time. Sometimes you don't feel as inspired, but like the other day, man, I was like at a big lecture that we all the teachers had to be like really important. I was like, yeah, I'm geared up today. Yeah, I'm ready to learn. And all of a sudden, like she talks for 5 minutes, and the next 2 hours, I'm just hearing riffs in my head, and I just can't focus for shit. It's just so I had to like leave the meeting and go to the bathroom and just start like riffing out on my phone just to get it away, and then I could relax again. That's so awesome. Like sometimes it gets overloaded, and I just have to get it out.
Does it ever happen in the middle of the night? Do you ever wake up and go, "Fuck, I've just dreamt this"? Like the perfect riff or anything like that? Does that ever happen?
No, never really in the middle of the night, but at very inconvenient times, as you can hear. Driving in the car, I have to don't do this at home. Kind of manually. Okay, so memos or hey CD, go to memos. I have to record this sick riff, man.
Yeah,
and then I just
just best forget a riff.
The real trick is to get home in time before you forget why that melody was cool, in what context, what drums, and all that.
That's funny. And Nick, how do you approach vocal? Nicholas, sorry, I'm sorry because you're Nicholas.
It's okay.
Nicholas,
you can call me Nick.
Cool, man. How do you approach the vocals when recording, and how does it differ from, say, the studio to live? How do you approach looking after your precious instrument?
Well, in the studio, I don't look after it, which might sound counterproductive, but I think that you only get that one chance at recording the album.
Yeah.
So I really want to, every single line I want to pour out the very best and the most aggressive sound I can.
Yeah.
While we're doing live shows, I have to protect the voice because we might play again next weekend. We might play the next day.
Yeah.
So I can't, lose my voice there.
Yeah. So
of course, I mean, it would suck to lose my voice in the studio as well, but that hasn't happened because you have the possibility to stop.
Yeah.
Or just take a break when you need to.
Yeah, you're not on the clock, are you? You can just literally go and record it when you need to. Awesome. So tell me some history about the band. Obviously, Niklas, you're new, relatively. How you got together. We've talked about the name. Any ups and downs? Anything I should know about? Franz, you may as well kick off with this one.
Well, it's, as I said before, we're a band that hasn't really ever planned what we're going to do next before we got really serious. So yeah, it's just like 5 guys getting together, and that kind of makes for like we're friends getting together, and that seems like a good recipe, and most of the times it is, but you don't have that agreement like, okay guys, so are we gonna do this? Okay, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, but you know that this means touring, for instance, like in 2 or 3 years time we want to go touring for like 40 days. Never had the conversation. Hey, do you know that it means that you're gonna pour out hundreds of thousands of dollars into this before we're ever gonna make any sort of money that can just start to cover this? Oh yeah, I guess, like, how expensive could it be? You don't really have the reality check we didn't from the beginning. And that just makes, then life happens, and some people in the band haven't been able to keep up with it. Kids are, they make their way into your life, obviously, and education, like, and you have to choose career paths. And is it the band that keeps sucking money out of you, or is it the job with like a pretty good pay? Like, it's stuff like that. But all incarnations of this band has been like a really tight brotherhood. There's no one who's like left the band, for instance, that isn't still part of the Livlos family, per se. It's more like when a new member is being introduced, Niklas being obviously a very good case of that. We have to get the right feeling, and that feeling can get there, in 5 minutes, or it can take 5 years. Luckily for us, it took like closer to 5 minutes for Niklas. It's just like, I have a gut feeling, and Niklas was going into this with like, okay, this is an established band. We didn't think of it as an established, but he bought it. And they actually have something they want to do. They have like a whole production in check and so on. So we just knew, and I guess we talked about it, that he was going into this with like a mindset of, we're going to do this, like I said before, but this being, or meaning, we're going to go out on tour, we're going to make this the biggest we can do. And then that became like a new agreement. But, again, life happens, and then Søren, he had to leave the band because of the kids and education, and it wasn't like he really loved the band, but there's just like 24 hours in a day, so, and then we got Benjamin, and that's the same story as Niklas, basically. So, a guy joins for a few shows. After show number 2, we basically know that we want this guy in the band. But, so that just happened really fast as well. And every time we've had a new member, I don't think we've thought about it that much, but it's like it's made our sound and our skill set exponentially grow like crazy. Because Niklas, opposed to our old singer or frontman Simon, Niklas has just a way bigger range of techniques and sounds. And again, the world building, like you're gonna hear on Friday, it's like pretty amazing what he can pour out.
Awesome.
And the same thing goes for Benjamin. He's like, we don't really get how we ended up getting the best metal bass player in Denmark, but he wants to play with us for some reason. And we're just like, okay, so we gotta give him space. That's what we did with Niklas. And then when I'm like, dude, do everything you want to, because everything you do, like we've heard, is amazing. So just do whatever. And as you can hear him talk about, like, he did everything and a little bit more.
I was going to say, I mean, Niklas, what was it like, joining the band like this? Seems like it was an easy in for you. Like, you fitted in like a jigsaw puzzle piece, it's perfect.
Man, I was nervous as hell, because I was actually a fan of the band before I joined. I was a big fan. Cool. There's like, maybe a year. I joined in 2018, so maybe a year or two before that, there was like a crowd photo of me in front with just the ugliest, meanest face and horns in the air.
That's brilliant. What
so I was very nervous. I was thinking like this is the movie Rockstar.
Yeah. So just think about, how did you hear about it? Did the guys give you the opportunity to meet there to go and audition, or did you apply? How did it happen for you?
So the way I heard it happening was my old band, Simon, the old singer, had two bands. So my old band was support band for his other band.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he was already thinking about going out of Livlos, I think. So he recommended me to the other guys because he saw me at that support gig.
Nice.
And then I was, even though I got his recommendation, I was still, they still asked me to audition just to see what I could for themselves, of course. And then I think I impressed them with how well prepared I came.
This was written for you, mate. This one. There was no one else. So you had to get this gig.
I was just, when I got the call, I was just tell me which songs to learn, and I'll learn them by the time we meet.
And was it straight away, Franz? You knew it straight away?
I think I was
just like sorry.
I was a bit like I said, nervous and maybe a bit awkward the first time, but I think we relatively quickly figured each other out, and they weren't. I was like, for me, they were rock stars.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, man, I gotta be cool, I gotta be tough, but I didn't have to do that at all. I mean, they're just cool, down to earth guys.
Do you still hold this against him, Franz?
that he thought of us as rock stars.
Yeah.
No, we keep forgetting, actually. Well, maybe not Kenneth. He's gonna let him know regularly, I think. But no, that was weird for us, to be seen like that. So not that he told us or anything, but it's just like whenever it's mentioned, like I don't even feel like that now that someone would be intimidated by playing with us. I'm just like, well, what do you mean? We're just like a band jamming,
Yeah.
It's really hard to see it from the outside.
Oh, that's cool. So I'm going to ask this question, right? Because being from Denmark, how is the scene there? Because obviously you got some great metal bands. Obviously Volbeat. You got so many. I've interviewed Convent on the show before. What's the scene like? And what's it like being in the shadows of the mighty Swedish monster metal scene that's there? It's right on your doorstep. It's a short drive, bridge, boat trip away. What's it like? Tell me about both things.
Well, it is a funny thing, like Danish metal. It's never really gotten, the sound that made its mark in metal history.
Sure.
Like you can't, even Volbeat is like, it's so much its own sound. It has nothing to do with like a Danish sound, for instance. Swedish metal, you have melodies, you have harmonies, it's going to be like, at least you're in the ballpark when you're talking about that. Norwegian, it's going to be evil, cold, Nordic sounding. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
Denmark is doing both at the same time and doing some American stuff and doing the German thrash, and so there's no really any pinpoint to it. And I just think basically I think that's the main reason, if not the only reason, that it just hasn't sold. It hasn't been easy to quantize what Danish metal is. So you have to just go by the individual band, and that's tough enough beforehand. So we had like bands like Hate Sphere, Mercenary, Nemec, all these very groundbreaking bands, but I don't know, coming from Denmark, all three just have the same kind of history, like really making it for one or maybe two albums, and then got too big. People had to choose between family life and so on, and no one really picked them up, or just something like there's no one who really just stood the based right now is doing it, but it's still I still need 10 years from now to determine whether they made it in like
I see. Yeah.
Common sense or common sense. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. What do you think, Nicholas?
Yeah.
What about living so near to Sweden as well? Having them like breathing over you. I mean, obviously, like the death metal scene there and everything, just phenomenal stuff. But you know, do you feel that? Do you take from that?
I mean, I think we all take from, like Franz said, Danish metal is like a mixed bag. We take from all these different countries and then just shake it up.
Yeah.
And
cocktail.
Yeah, but I think like Danish metal within the last maybe 10 years has begun to grow a lot. We're finding some bands, especially, are finding more new, unique sounds. Like a band like, do you know Møl?
Mm-hmm.
They have a pretty unique sound and a pretty good chance to make it bigger, I think. But yeah, a lot of Danish bands are more willing to go outside of Denmark now. I mean, we have this little small country that's really cozy, and it's scared to leave our homes.
Yeah,
we're people that enjoy being home and within our known environments.
Nice.
So I think just a lot of bands are working extra hard and to cross the boundaries of Denmark and going outside. Cool. And then, of course, also with the rise of social media streaming, and
of course,
you also have a bigger reach from the start if you can make it through the white noise of the internet.
Of course. Now, obviously, talking about getting out and about, you know, what shows have you got planned for backing this album up? You know, you've waited a year now to be able to take these new tracks onto the road. What's happening?
Well, as of right now, we've just announced our Danish headline tour for the spring, and we're still working on going abroad or going just outside of borders. We have some shows planned that we can't disclose right now, but it's, speaking of what we just spoke of, it's like there's like a big gap before you want to do these things, you want to go outside of Denmark, and then the gap is like filled with like economics and all these pits where you can just and either one of them is just gonna be like, so now it can't be done. So it's every band knows this struggle, at least every band who plans to do this. So it's gonna happen at some point, but it's just very, very hard to get it going and get it up and running. But we have 10 shows planned for Denmark, at least.
Awesome. What's a show like for you guys? What's the energy like? Is it full on?
Well, we have this again. Our name in Danish is Livlos.
Yeah.
The media is always making the same joke, and I mean at every single show that Livlos is not so lifeless after all.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah,
of course.
Because I think we have always been a live band. I mean, we also enjoy making and recording music, but we have always been a live band that gives it all on the stage. I mean, we're all drenched in sweat and are out of breath, and we're just one huge energy bomb, and we can both hear and feel from the audience that they feel that energy too.
Awesome. Franz?
Yeah, no, it's I was just thinking about the last show we played was in front of 600 people in Copenhagen. It was the best show we played, like even surpassing Copenhagen and all these big shows collectively. Like we all collectively had the best show where minimal stuff went wrong, and the stuff that went wrong was actually just cool to witness.
Yeah,
it would be like Kenneth breaking a spring because he's chucking too hard at the very last note, something like that.
Or so mentioning the wrong name for the festival.
Yeah. But it's like an energy of everything can go wrong. Like everything is like a little bit dangerous and wobbly, but it never really goes wrong. It's just like I really like to keep that energy going. Like like a hill wagon just going 200 miles an hour with the wheels about to come off. You really never know what Niklas is gonna do, or if I'm gonna fuck up this solo. But no, he made it, and was like, there's nothing perfect about it, but it's just just on the edge all the time.
Go on, Niklas, your hands up.
Yeah, I remember from like last year, maybe 1.5 year ago, we invited this German booker for a show we did in Aarhus, where some other bands played, and they were very modern metal bands, the other bands that night. And he was just like, both your sound and your live show reminds me of the good old days when nothing was planned, everything could go wrong, but it doesn't. But it feels like a little exciting, a little dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I think this led me on to this question. What do you prefer, studio or stage? Do you prefer where do you get off the most? The creating the music or performing it? I think you're going to say performing it, right?
Well, Niklas.
I think a good balance of both is needed, because you can burn out on both. And I mean, okay, there's some in the band who will ultimately always choose live shows, but I think for we need both of those parts. We enjoy writing music, we love recording it, but we also very, very much love the live show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you basically said it. But I'm gonna my guilty pleasure is like, I think I enjoy like 1 or 2% more being in the studio, just because it's like the first. It's like, I know it's not the typical answer. Like, we always have to say, "Oh, we're a live band."
Yeah.
And I am on that bandwagon, but I love playing live. It's not that, but it's just sitting in a controlled environment with your best buddies, like making your riffs come to life, and really hearing Jacob tweaking the sound so it's just like, it sounds perfect. And this is the first time that you hear the real drums, the real bass, the real mix, and it's supposed to sound like that, and it's wilder, and it's just I could stay in the studio forever.
Awesome.
I'm the only one who's there from the day before Thomas he gets there to record the drums, and all the days, as much as I can make it for Niklas's vocals at the very end. Like, I just can't stay out of
the whole thing,
the studio,
the whole experience.
Now, Franz is definitely the one who's mostly in the studio.
Yeah. Just one more question about touring. Just one quick answer each. Who'd your ideal touring partner be? Who would you like to go on a tour with? You can be a big band, a small band, friends, whichever. Who would you like to hit the road with on a 3-month European tour? Who would it be?
The Black Dahlia Murder.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I'm going to say Decapitated then. That's going to be another one. That's nice. Good one.
That's one each. That's good enough for me. Now, this leads me into this one quite nicely. Influence-wise, who would be on each of your Mount Rushmore of rock or metal? So, I'm going to tell me your favorite albums or your favorite bands, but tell me the main guys that got you to where you are now. 4 faces in that rock carved in. Franz, go with you first.
That's going to be a weird ass rock.
That's what we like. That's going to
be like, I think George Washington would be like a King Diamond.
Okay.
And then when you would have like, who would I pick? Yeah, I'll have to pick like the guitarist from Hatesphere. It's called Bippe Hansen. He's just like, I've modeled my whole playing after that guy, so I have to give it to him.
Good. 2 more.
Then Rob Halford, just to because there's nothing more metal than Rob Halford.
Yeah, of course.
And
one more.
And one more. That would be. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm looking at my record collection.
He's trying to get influence from his collection behind him now.
Yeah, no, but I'm gonna
leave that last space empty.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it empty now. There's just too many.
Stick Niklas on there.
I'm gonna put Niklas on there. He would fit nicely.
Right, Niklas, your 4.
Trevor Sturner, first of all. Just my all-time favorite vocalist.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably have to say Randy Blythe.
Yeah.
Joe Duplantier from Futura.
Yeah.
And then, who would my last one be?
Yeah, right. Pretty easy. For fun is like
okay. Okay, I have the last one. Even though I don't listen to Slipknot that much anymore, I'll choose Corey Taylor because he was the one I inspired to sing like when I first began growling.
Sounds good to me.
But that moved away in time.
That's 4 each, good enough for me, right? So here's a funny one. You got to think deep about this one. Give me your unpopular musical opinion. You might not have one. You might not have an unpopular musical opinion, but just that opinion that most people go, really? You don't like Kiss? Or I don't know, something. I don't know. Whatever you think.
I really, really don't like both Metallica and Slayer.
Oh, okay. Really? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I just I can enjoy the instruments, but I just don't like James Hetfield's vocals or
Tom
Tom Araya. I was just about to say Dave Araya, but Tom Araya.
That's good enough. I saved you there, mate. But
so yeah, I can enjoy the music, but the vocals are just not
fair enough. That is a strong and popular opinion. Franz, do you have one?
It's like Kenneth not liking Pantera. It's just weird, man. It's just
these are strong opinions, guys, man.
I'm gonna head on over to the other side of the spectrum and say, like, if I know that people have poured hard work into music, there's no such thing as bad music.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a lot of heat for that, and I have gotten a lot of heat for that because, so you like Justin Bieber or whatever shit you would mention, like, well, I don't like it necessarily, but it's good music. It's really well done. You can't argue.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Now, what's on the band's bucket list? We're coming to the end now. What's on the band? What do you want to do? What do you think it would take for you to know you've really made it? You've done a lot already. You've got albums out. You played Copenhagen, big festival. What would it be? What would it's going to take for you to realize, guys, we've done it? Will it be something? Will it be a certain tour? Will it be a certain country? Will it be a certain, I don't know, appearance somewhere?
I still need to go out on a... No, we've been on a real European tour, but there wasn't like the big headline band that you went along with. I need one of those tours at least, and then I need the festival summer tour. Do Hellfest, you do... whatever, not download necessarily, but you do
not that now.
You do all the stuff. Bloodstock, yeah, exactly. Metal Days,
easily done, easily achieved. Nicholas,
I think it's hard, man, because once you get to your goal or some point, you always think what's next.
Okay, what would it be for you? What you'll go for me there's a famous rock club in Nottingham called Rock City, right? It's such a super famous rock club in the UK. When I played main stage at Rock City, I thought I got to where I could ever be. If someone said you're never going to play drums again, I'll be like, okay, I played Rock City, I'm happy. That was my original bucket list. So what about you, Nick? What is it?
Yeah, but that leads pretty good into my point because my original goal was to play at Copenhagen.
Yeah. All right.
So I did that last year. So now I'm just like
the next one.
Next one, and I think I'll have to choose the same as Franz, like one, like big international tour. If it's just Europe again, or the States, or something else. Yeah. Just a big tour with a very big headliner, so there's going to be a lot of people.
Okay, cool.
I think that would be the next thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, like a US tour that went well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is my final question. What is the most used emoji in your phone?
The grapes.
What?
The grapes.
Wow. Like, we've made it like a button for like just okaying in our group chat, and it's just like a bunch of grapes because we saw a stupid video where a woman says grape when she means grape.
Oh, great! So it's a grapes.
Yeah.
So instead of saying grape, we say grape.
That's great. Is that for all of you? You've all got grapes.
It's ended up being a full August. Like
that's
the last
so
2 weeks, that's all we've done.
Well, great stuff, guys. I love it. Listen, thanks so much for the chat. I really enjoyed it. And listen, looking forward to the album. I'll be spreading the word, and good luck with the tours. And let's get those bucket lists hit.
Yeah,
nice.
Thank you.